radiotoday.co.uk at the Radio Festival.
Clive, the Radio Festival's coming to an end. What's been the highlight for you so far?
First of all, it's great to see so many people here. I mean, the record attendance in the history of the Radio Festival, and so I'm told. So that was one highlight. Second highlight was, I thought the opening session really set the tone. Seeing Paul Keenan here for the first time and Ashley here in fantastic form, I think sent a really strong message of unison across the industry.
And one of the big themes, I think, has been about creativity and being a bit more bold. And we saw Jeremy Kyle and Timmy Mallet and people like that.
Absolutely.
Is that a key message to take away for programmers and big radio bosses like yourself?
Yes, I mean, I'd like to think at Absolute Radio we do a lot in that area already, but I think if you're in a smaller station, this whole talk about big names, it's not necessarily about big names, it's about trying to encourage people to take those risks. I think one of the challenges that I try to tackle in another section is that talent isn't just about on the air. One of the other talent gluts we might have is in terms of the research and development. If you are a student in your 20s studying at Manchester University, do you think that the radio industry is as cool as the internet industry? And therefore, are you going to actually go and work in a mobile startup or .com, where maybe 20 years ago, when I was at that age, I wanted to work in a media company, a radio station. So I think the risk-taking that we talk about on air, sometimes we ignore the risk-taking that we need to have off air as well, in terms of getting creativity behind the microphone. So I think it's an important theme, and we'll be talking about that for years to come.
Another theme that we have been talking about for years gone by, and again this year, is digital and the switchover. I know in your session yesterday you made it quite clear that you'd be switching off your AM transmitters probably before 2015.
Absolutely. I mean, what I said was that once it becomes not viable to coexist on AM and digital, then when we're basically the cost of transmission at AM for us are huge. I think I shared with the audience that our AM transmission costs are vastly higher than our DAB transmission costs. Analog transmission is more expensive than DAB transmission for us, and that doesn't mean we're getting DAB cheap. It's just that these horrible, badly power-hungry AM transmitters have been rattling away for 40 years, and we need to get rid of that technology. And if the industry isn't going to get to this threshold, then we'll basically jump off the cliff on our own. I mean, I don't need to hold Ashley's hand.
Something else that's often levelled at your group is, your national station, is that you're about the creative and the award-winning and seeking the awards, but not necessarily delivering on the audience numbers. How do you react to those claims?
I think that's all about timing. So we're a less than 2-year-old brand. And I point everyone's attention to the Radar next week and the next couple of Radars where I'll confidently forecast that we will be a net positive, bigger business in audience terms, in Radar terms, than our predecessor brand. And that's taken 2 years. And that's exactly how long we expected it to take. And it's a private company, and we always said, we go back to when I was first interviewed back in June 2008, I said around 2 years. And in 2 years, we would have eroded the memory of a fantastic radio station that existed for 15 years with a consumer brand that was famous and continues to be famous for at least 40 years. And in 2 years, we managed to create a completely new conversation. So I completely challenged that. And from a financial perspective, 2010 and 2009 were big investment years in marketing to create that brand. And you can see from our product development, our digital development, and our talent development, we've spent a lot of money building this brand. And now we're really reaping the financial rewards of that. We are 20% up financially year on year in September, and we look like we'll be about 15% up in October. When the domestic market can't give you those sort of figures. So you've got to. The lesson is it takes time and money and focus when you have to invest. And history will say that was actually 2 years was our moment where we needed to build what we now have.
One of the highlights, entertainment-wise, sessions at this year's festival was probably Jeremy Kyle earlier. He's somebody who's worked for you in the past. Would you have him back on Absolute? Does he fit with your brand and what you're about?
Yeah, I mean, we do. And Jeremy, I just had a conversation about that now. He'd love to get back on the radio, and we're going to have a coffee and see what we can do. And I think he's a fantastic broadcaster. I was really fortunate to give him a second job in radio. His first job was at Orchard FM, and I passed his demo tape to Paul Jackson. And I remember sitting in my office at Euston Tower and said to Paul, "Hey, listen to this." He was interviewing a presenter, a pop star called Michelle Gale, and I thought he was a terrible music presenter, but he was a fantastic interviewer. And that was the moment when Jeremy met Paul, and Paul and Jeremy, as you heard him say, Paul changed Jeremy's life. and I was not that involved in the show, but effectively was sort of brokered that blind date, if you like, based on the fact that Paul was an amazing programmer and Jeremy was an amazing communicator. And he went on in his career, his trajectory has been amazing. I think if we were to look at doing something with Jeremy on Absolute Radio, it would be about reinventing his radio act again, not bringing back Confessions. So I think next year let's think about doing something completely different. I think the art of reinvention is a skill, so that's what we've got to talk about.
Okay, thanks, Clive.
Thanks a lot, Stuart.